You have just been invaded by...
Hey there guys, this is DJ Slope from Slope's Game Room and you're listening to SLOPESCAST, the retro gaming news show recorded live on Twitch with my co-host Grizzly Crichton. If you like the podcast and you want to be in a chance to be on a future episode, then please do consider becoming a Patreon or YouTube member. And if you have any particular news stories that you would like us to cover in a future episode, then please do let us know in the dedicated rooms over on Discord. Plus, if you are listening to the podcast on any of the many podcast services around the world, then please do give us a little review. It really does help us spread our wings and get into the earlobes of plenty of other podcast goers. Anyway, enough of the plugs. Let's get on with the show.
You have just been invaded by...
Oh yes, so Grizzly, it's time for SLOPESCAST, mate. Do you want to read us through the 6 topics of conversation that we're going to be chatting about tonight?
Nah, I don't feel like it.
No?
No, I'll go ahead.
Thank you so much everyone for listening as the end of the podcast.
Right, so
it,
on tonight's SLOPESCAST,
yes,
we have 6 topics for you. Starting off with Toshiro Nagoshi and his rumoured departure from Sega, and I'm going to emphasise the word rumour.
Yes.
We're going to look at Saints Row and plenty more from this year's Gamescom opening night.
Big topic, that one. There's a lot to talk about.
Bit of a favourite from Slopes and I, Valfaris is getting the sequel treatment, which is very exciting because it's a underrated gem of a modern indie title.
Beautiful game.
Then, of all things, Google Maps has been ported times in Skyrim, but this time it's going to the Nintendo NES for the first time. For real as well.
It is.
Not that April rubbish. Then we have the Simpsons arcade game and various others from Arcade 1UP. Yep. And we're also going to do a little bit of a top 5 because what people may not realise is that it's actually been 30 years since the Super Nintendo launched in Japan and America.
Yeah. Talk about a few memories with that. That'll be good. I'm happy for that one. Definitely. And yeah, we got, like I say, quite a few topics to be talking through today. And guys, please do keep your ears open because if you type in the name Toshihiro Nagoshi, I said that right, didn't I? Toshihiro Nagoshi.
I'm yes, I believe that is as correct as we could possibly do with our English tongues.
Yeah. You go type that in on Google or anywhere like that, on YouTube, all the big major search engines, and everyone is saying he's leaving Sega. There's like no if or buts about it. The man's leaving. But guys, we're here to tell you that you don't want to listen to them completely.
Not yet.
Completely. Take it with the biggest grain of salt that you're going to choke on. Because it might not be true. So we'll go straight into that first topic, and I know you're the one that's been talking about this a lot, and I know there's a few people in the Discord, shout out to Creamy Elephant,
yes,
that have been looking into this. Massive Yakuza fan he is. I'm a big fan of him, Toshihiro Nagoshi, outside of the world of Yakuza. I love Yakuza. I mean, I like Yakuza, but I'm more of a fan of his other stuff he's worked with Sega. He's a major tentpole in the in the world of Sega. But let's talk about these final negotiations, as all of the headlines are stating. You go for it, mate.
Yeah, so this is what is rumoured, emphasising that word for a good reason. It's rumoured that Toshiro Nagoshi will be leaving Sega to join NetEase, which is a large Chinese gaming company that's worked previously with the likes of Activision and Blizzard to bring World of Warcraft to the Far East and various others. So people might have also seen in the news today that China's government has actually brought in a gaming ban.
Yeah,
it's not quite a full-on ban. It's more of a case of that anyone under the age of 18 is unable to play a online rated game for more than 3 hours a week or 1 hour a day. which is quite restrictive, especially if you are NetEase, who deals a lot in microtransactions.
Oh,
so
yes. Well, you
it
think that would
does
work?
strike
Like
me.
most of these games, like you can only play for about an hour, and then you run out of lives. You either pay for more lives, whatever
Yeah.
type of game it is you're doing, or you have to grind to be able to get yourself further on. So if you're only allowed to play it for an hour a day, it's like these companies aren't going to make any money.
Well, that's exactly the reason why they don't that the Chinese government has stepped in. They're actually battling against gaming addiction and the spend as a result of. So, it strikes me as a bit weird because one, it's like a massive part of their income. The Chinese government gets a bit off the top of each company that works over there. Every factory, every game development company, every small transaction goes through the government in some way.
Yep.
So yeah, it is a bit on the odd side. Sorry, I just heard something.
Yeah, don't worry, it's
No,
not
we're
great,
good.
it's
We're
fine.
good. We're good. It strikes me as a bit weird because it feels like they're going to lose quite a lot of income. But what I do love about that decision is that we're going to see a massive shift in products from China. And I think this is going to be nothing but a good thing for us people in the West, because when things aren't going to go so well for online games, that means that there might be more of a push to single player experiences. There goes Craig. So it leads me to believe that we might actually see more stuff like Black Myth Wukong, which we discussed a couple of podcasts ago. So I think, that could be a good thing. And that also might explain...
Now recording.
Sorry.
Thanks, Craig. That might also explain why we are seeing a potential move from Toshi and Nagoshi, because there's a lot of money in this kind of decision. And we're also talking about the potential for, almost like artistic freedom on a game in China. It's cool.
A lot of these people end up moving, not necessarily moving on, but at least even within their own company, moving into different areas. Even like the biggest Shigeru Miyamoto, he hasn't touched anything for so long because he's been looking at more different developments outside of the world of gaming to do with Nintendo in more recent years. This guy's an absolute legend. It's definitely something you need to take him with a grain of salt. The guy, as you said, who's actually put this forward isn't exactly 100% to be trusted. I mean, I'm sure that, there might be a nugget of truth to it, but until it happens, there's no reason to be worried about it. But this is why we wanted to talk about it, because we have information and looking at the guy's back catalogue of rumours, and they're not 100% really.
Yes, so quite famous amongst this guy's rumours. So the guy we're talking about is a journalist known as Takashi Mochizuki. I apologise if I mispronounced that because, this is what it is. He is quite famous for leaking video game industry information and also just tech in general. So some of his snippets, some of his absolute perlers, as we like to say in the UK, have come around a certain Nintendo console, which was rumoured recently. That being, of course, the Nintendo Switch Pro. Talking about the Switch Pro being 4K, DLSS equipped, better CPU, more memory, blah, blah, blah. And we all know how well that went.
Yes. Well,
So-
it went brilliantly for all those YouTubers that talked about it. It's like,
Yeah.
ching! So,
He also talks about other things such as iPhones having curved screens, none of which came true. However, I will say he does have a track record of also getting a few things right. So, being fair to the guy, being fair to Nagoshi-san, is we just want to take it with a pinch of salt for now. But we just wanted to make you aware and talk about something Sega related this week. So.
Because I love me some Sega. It's almost it's in the contracts. We have to talk about Sega weekly, There you go.
And it was either that or a Sonic Colors delay, which
we don't want to hear about that.
Yeah.
Although, while we've got this guy, this beautiful 56-year-old on the screen, I hope I look that good at 56.
Damn straight.
He looks like he's like a part of a gang. You know, he's got the ear stud. He's got the
That is the look of a
jacket.
man. That is the look of a man who's worked on Shenmue, Virtua Racing, and Virtua Fighter for sure.
And yeah, that's the thing. When you look down this guy's back catalogue, of course, Yakuza's the big one right now. But for me, I mean, he's worked on these at different levels. I mean, the vast majority is like a producer. So he's had like a hardcore holding on a lot of these games. And not everyone's good. We'll get to those in a moment. But yeah, massive part of Sega's DNA. So obviously you've got Yakuza, Virtua Racing, the Daytonas, primarily Daytona USA. The Super Monkey Ball series, I know it was one of his major projects back in the day, and probably one of the most favourite things he's ever worked on for me. F-Zero GX though, F-Zero GX, man, definitely. A bit of Shenmue's in there. Knight's Journey into Dreams, so that's the Wii version, the second Knight's game. Phantasy Star, Bayonetta, Space Channel 5 Part 2, Tembo, which is a majorly underrated game. It's like Shinobi, but you're a fat animated elephant. Brilliant game. Yes. Yeah, Binary Domain. Do you remember that game? That wasn't too bad. That wasn't too shabby. That game. People don't talk about that game.
That was like top drawer, middle shelf gaming. That was Binary Domain. Yeah, definitely not something that you consider AAA, but definitely something worth picking up on the discount. You know. And
I did see a lot of Sonics. So this is going to show you the wave of ups and downs. I mean, the Sonic series has always had their ups and downs, of course. But he's had his hand on a lot of them. So there's some ups and downs, and I'll go through them here, and I'll let you guys decide amongst yourself which is good and which is bad. But you've got Sonic Advance 3, Sonic Heroes, Riders, Adventure 2. I think that was actually the re-release of Adventure 2, maybe the Steam version. Sonic Battle, Sega All-Star Racing. Yes, major. Sonic Unleashed, Black Knight, Episode 1 and 2. So Sonic Episode 1, Sonic 4, Episode 1 and 2, sorry. Sonic Generations, Sonic, I've done Adventure 2 twice there. Lost World, Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games, Sonic Boom, Fire and Ice, that was that 3DS one. Sonic at the Rio Olympic Games, Sonic Mania, Sonic Forces, Team Sonic Racing, Sonic at the Tokyo Olympics 2020. So yeah,
wow,
a lot.
It's quite a history there. He's had a history. He's had a bit of good and he's had a bit of bad. So the Sonic Adventure 2 was the remaster. I noticed that even though it was of the era, he didn't go anywhere near the likes of 06, Colors, and Unleashed.
No, he did touch Colors. Did I not say Colors? I think I might have skipped over Colors. He did mention Colors. He did have something to do with Colors. I think it was like a. I think when you get to his stature within a company like Sega, he works as a producer that the majority of games get pushed under his eyes, so he can at least give his 2 cents, which I assume, for the most part, important.
So slightly off topic, but still relevant, I guess. It sounds to me like he joined in on the Sonic franchise around the time that a lot of the older games were delisted. Do you remember when that happened? So everything from Unleashed backwards with a certain Metacritic score was pulled from store shelves.
Right.
It was no longer sold, and it was all part of Sega's, like, they were trying to bring back Sonic's image in a way by removing all of the chaff, like the brand new copies, from digital store shelves. At one point, you couldn't buy Unleashed, and it sounds to me like he was around that time to do that.
Yeah, because I know Adventure 2 was around the 2010s. That makes sense for me about there onwards. Yeah.
And that's before Boom, of course, so it wasn't perfect.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Sonic 4 Episode 1 was the first ever HD video game I ever played in my own house when I got my HD TV. There you go. Right. So yeah, you're hearing it all over the place. The guy's apparently leaving Sega, but at the moment, I would very much see what happens.
Well, whether he goes, whether he stays, I wish him the best of luck, because the man's a legend.
He is
32 years.
Yep.
32 years of Sega brilliance. You can't deny that greatness. So
faux show, definitely. So moving on to the big topic of the week, we're going to be chatting about Gamescom. Oh, yes.
I miss Gamescom. I wish I was there this year.
Never been.
I wish it was the physical thing.
I've never been.
Great show.
Yeah. Never been.
If people have never been to either, my suggestion over E3, Gamescom is the place to go. 100%.
You heard it here. There we go.
Much bigger show. You see games further along in development, and there's a lot more excitement. And yeah, it's just great.
So there was a lot of games showed off, and we're going to try and run through them as quick as we can. But we will stop at the ones that are the most interesting. I have never properly played a Saints Row game. And
I love these games.
Yeah, Saints Row reboot. So you're a fan of the Saints Row games, excited for this?
Yes, I am. Now, Saints Row can be a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, if you've ever played, like, I think everyone's has at least played a bit of one.
Yeah, I definitely have.
I think it really peaked around Saints Row 3. That game was really, really fun. And then Saints Row 4 kind of went balls to the wall with the whole superhero concept, and then later Heaven versus Hell. And they were really fun games in their own right. But what I love about Saints Row is it takes everything that was really like obscure and just crazy about the Grand Theft Auto series on the PS2, and then they essentially dialed it up to the nines. And they've just made everything less serious and just more fun. And that's all I really wanted in a sandbox game. Yeah. Just absolutely brilliant series. I love Saints Row 3, as I say, and you know they get it. They get the kind of humor that people are going to go for. My favorite parts included where you're driving along and suddenly your character breaks into song, singing along to the car on the radio. It's just little details like that, that go across really, really well. So I'm excited to see what they do. I'm not too invested in the original characters to the point where I'll go, I don't want to play these new guys,
right? Because
I think they'll get it. I think they can do it their own thing in their own right. So let's just see what they do. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I mean, is this like a retelling of the first game? Do you know, or is this like a reboot? Is in they're starting again?
I think it's a reboot in a completely different area, and I think there's just going to be some tenuous link to the Third Street Saints and these guys. Right. But either way, they're going to be the Saints. Yeah.
So at the moment, it's just a cinematic trailer rather than any real gameplay. But hey, it's happening, and that's what they showed. That's what it's basically here to tell you, isn't it? So yes, Saints Row reboot was the first one that was shown off, first one to be talking about even. Then you've got Marvel Midnight Suns, essentially XCOM Marvel Edition. Big XCOM fan?
It's not, I can't say I am, but I do appreciate that there's a lot of XCOM fans out there. And if the Mario vs. Rabbids game was anything to go by, I think there's going to be even more fans out there. And it's also great to see that Disney and the Marvel franchise is not afraid to do a slightly more complex title. I consider RTS games to be complex. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I've always found them quite difficult. It's definitely not a game that I'll be jumping out to play, but I love the fact that they're bringing back these like traditionally hardcore gaming genres with the Marvel universe, because it could have easily gone the other way, and we've all seen what that other way looks like. That other way looks like Marvel superheroes on the U-Draw tablet. So you know, it's one of those things that I could appreciate.
Again, it's something that is happening and something that's coming. And you got Blade in there. I just saw you got Blade.
Yes.
And Ghost Rider. So it's going to be exciting.
Can I just say, Blade looks a bit like Snipes.
Doesn't he just? Like they normally go for that thing. Like when you look at the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, the Square showed off that it's obviously not copying the movie stars from the movies. You know, Volume 1 and Volume 2. It's very much their own thing. Where this does look like Snipes, but Ghost Rider doesn't. Ghost Rider looks very different than the movie versions. Not Nicolas Cage.
Oh man, I would love to see Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider come back.
As I was saying, I was upset that it wasn't him.
I mean, if they can bring back Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and everything looks like it's going to go that way, then can we talk about that for a moment?
Yeah,
Spider-Man No Way Home trailer.
I know it happened last week, but
yeah.
You know what? When I saw that, I was so happy I didn't see any pictures or anything, and when I saw that big claw come out at the end, I was like, that's all they're going to show. But no, Dr. Rock actually comes out like, hello, Peter. And I'm like,
I'm just wondering whether they've actually got Willem Dafoe back. I'm just super curious.
It's exciting.
Anyway.
But anyway, yes. Marvel Midnight Suns. It looks quite good. I reckon I might check it out, actually. I like RTS games. Call of Duty Vanguard. Now this, any other Call of Duty game, I would just instantly skip past. But I gave this a little bit of a watch, and I'm like, this looks really good. Like, I'm actually quite impressed by this. So I'm really into cinematic first-person shooters for the most part. This looks really, really nice. I will say that I'm not too sure what I'm looking at, as in regard, is it real? Is it real footage? Is it kind of pre-made? Because it is the most floatiest FPS footage I think I've ever seen. But the actual style of it looks really, really nice. And it's definitely got me interested for a Call of Duty game, which I don't think has ever happened before. I'm not a fan of that style of thing. There's bits of it that makes me think it is real, the way it like jumps between, which obviously, it's in development. I'll give them their due. But I'm for the first time potentially in my life interested to see a bit more about a Call of Duty game. So there you go. That's not for you.
I'm not as convinced on this one. Call of Duty, you know how it usually goes, and I would play it for the single player campaign, and I found them quite hard to enjoy. I don't know. Maybe it's just the war thing. I've kind of like stopped doing, but the lighting looks nice.
It does. Yeah, that's one of the things that caught me. The lighting.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm really looking forward to Battlefield versus this.
Yeah. They've got their hardcore competition, haven't they? For sure.
Definitely.
But
I've always preferred
lighting,
that
as you
franchise. Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. That one. Halo Infinite world premiere multiplayer trailer. Again, it's not really anything more than cinematic. But hey, Halo Infinite's getting a multiplayer mode. Would you believe it?
No. You're lying.
Yeah, if it wasn't for this trailer, I wouldn't believe it. And but it's actually happening. It looks nice, cinematic, but not really anything else to show you. Next up on here is a game that caught me by surprise. Obviously, it's Devolver Digital, and it's a game called Cult of the Lamb. So, for people that are listening, what I am looking at is a mix between Don't Starve, which is a great game, a bit of a sim game, I suppose, like as in The Sims, mixed with a bullet
The Amazing
hell.
World of Gumball.
Yeah, maybe a bit of that in there. It's really quite bizarre, and I like all of those things, so I'm very much interested in this, and I like pretty much most things that Devolver Digital put out.
This looks neat. I mean, like, any indie game that looks a bit like, as Mike Towns put it, a bit Paper Mario. Kind of cutesy, but at the same time looks like it's got a bit of a hardcore edge, like Don't Starve. I'm kind of into it, and I'm hoping it's got a bit of a sense of humour on it too. Oh,
it definitely seems like that. So for the really beautiful animation at the beginning, go and check it out. You're a lamb, and you get sacrificed, and then you basically get brought back from the dead and kill everyone. As a killer lamb.
So it's basically the lamb with a crow.
Yeah.
The crow with a lamb instead.
One interesting thing I will take from this, I'm not going to say that .mu or .emu, however you want to say it, are the people that have were the first people to do this. But with things like the Dragon Trap game, Streets of Rage 4, and obviously the Turtles game, which we'll talk about in a moment, they do this beautiful animation to get you hyped and then show you gameplay that just continues that hype momentum. And I feel like there's a lot of indie sort of studios doing that now, and if they're not copying that style, they definitely look like they're copying that style. Little maybe mistake there, but it's a great way for these sort of trailers to entice gamers like us, I think. And it looks good. It looks really, really, really well put together trailer. Very, very nice. Following on from this, we got a game here called Midnight Fight Express. So this was made by one guy. Turn the music down. Made by one guy, and it's sort of an isometric-y Streets of Rage. It looks a little bit slow, quite cinematic, possibly. I'm definitely intrigued to find out more, and I think a game like this is going to be 100% built on how well it plays and its fighting mechanic. A bit like I always refer back to the Arkham Asylum games.
Yeah, definitely getting that vibe.
Oh, definitely. If they can pull that style off, and it's a bit dark, lots of shading, I suppose a bit of a Hotline Miami look to it as well, but cel-shaded version. It could do well, and I could potentially be quite interested in finding out a bit more about this. Done by one guy as well, so massive shout out to them, whoever that one person is.
Wow, that's impressive considering what we're seeing here.
Yeah, and to get the trailer right on Games Night, that Gamescom on the opening night, beautiful, really well done.
Yeah,
nice. Following on from this, we had so I don't want them to keep showing us Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge trailers, but .mu know how to do marketing, and this is how they do their marketing. April O'Neil is a playable character in the new Turtles game.
She looks like she looks great as well. Like they got the character model down perfect. Her moves look amazing.
Oh, so good.
I think we're going to see Casey Jones as well. I just get that impression. She does a little mic drop too.
She does. She drops the mic, and it's like a little it's like a move on a Streets of Rage game or what have you. And there's a lot of co-op fighting between you where you can actually work with people, and she looks like she's going to be a great character to work with the Turtles of that, which makes complete sense.
Yeah, she can feed the Turtles pizza when they're down low on health.
Oh my god, isn't it so good? It's so exciting. Like I say every time, please stop showing me footage of this game. But this is what I do. I look up this stuff for a living now, so it's okay. I'm so excited for this. So excited for this. I mean, nothing else needs to be said. I think we've put this game about 5 times on our podcast.
Well, just on April O'Neil based news, there is actually another game that features April O'Neil as a playable character, and that's that Nickelodeon All-Star Smash. Smash Brothers clone. They've just announced her as a character there, so it's great to see a bit of April power. Getting in on the action. So especially the old classic design.
Oh, for sure. Oh, it's so stunning. Really, really nice. If I hadn't seen it already, it'd be the game in the show for me. So yeah, there we go. I don't know what my game in the show is. I'm interested in hearing what everyone else says as well. So yeah, there we go. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. It's cool. It's very exciting. Demon Slayer was shown off. Was it E3, I believe? And now there's 30 seconds more, but we're about 15 seconds in, and so far they've shown us the title card.
This is the one that I wasn't sure about before. Still not sure about now. It's very anime.
Very, very anime. Not the most anime. We'll get to the most anime in a moment. We talked about Toshihiro and Nagoshi earlier on, and Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Had another character added, and that was someone from the Persona series. I don't know too much about Persona, but hey, they're in this. It gets me happy. There's a lot more showing off about the party games, which is such a huge part of the Monkey Ball games. And for people that don't know, these are a recreation of the original 2 games. I don't think it's going to have quite as many as Deluxe, because Deluxe is technically the first 2 games plus a few more. But and it's also put into the new art style. This is a day one purchase for me. In fact, I've actually already been bugging Sega to give me more information on anything about this. So
do you get the impression that Sega are banking a lot on this game, because they are talking about it a lot, more so than I would ever have expected, considering it's Nintendo's coming out for Switch only, or unless that was just a Nintendo trailer that you just pulled up.
It's just a Nintendo trailer.
Yeah,
I assume it's coming out for more.
It's an odd one to be like championing. You think that Sonic would be higher on this list?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
You know.
I did hear recently that the new big 3D Sonic that they announced at their little Sonic Direct that they did, they actually admitted that they've announced it too early. Or someone on the team worked. They said they admitted it. They announced it too early. So I don't think we're going to be seeing anything on that for a long, long time. But again, I think that these guys are doing kind of not what .mu started, but that every new trailer's showing off another character. You got Shenmue in here. You got you got the main guy from Yakuza in here. Persona's in here now. be surprised if Sonic isn't. He may have already been announced.
He has been, yeah. Sonic and Tails.
Oh, okay, yeah, there we go. So, I 100% day one purchase me. Those are first couple of Monkey Ball games. I adore them. They're in my top something games. I love them, and this is just them games again. So yes, please. So there we go. A game called Splitgate, which is one hugely popular beta on Steam. If you can imagine a Halo deathmatchy type shooter, but with the portal mechanic, that's exactly what we're looking at right here.
This looks like right up my alley. This is like Unreal Tournament levels of like arena shooter.
Better comparison, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's got the whole teleporter thing going on, the portals, of course. It's free to play, I believe. Is it not?
I don't know.
Or it will be. But yeah, it's the kind of thing I used to play for hours and hours on end, and I can only hope that this will live up to that kind of memory.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I'm interested to find out more. I will not be playing this. It's not my cuppa, but I adore Portal. So hey, there we go.
As long as it isn't another Lawbreakers.
Yes. Let's have a look. We got old Vike Echo dropping 50 there. Thank you so much, mate. Really appreciated. 50 bits. Thank you. What have we got next? We've got a game, Riders Republic. This has already been shown off. This is Ubisoft's adrenaline sport of every kind at the same time. Snowboarding, BMXing, gliding, all mixed together, like so many different things. And I from what I can see from the trailer, which I still can't 100% work out if it's cinematic or in game, you do it all at the same time. I'd like to think so.
Yeah, it's basically the crew, isn't it, with all of these extreme sports at once.
Yeah.
And that wasn't necessarily a bad game. It just, the problem that you have with games like this, and I think we may have even said this before, I don't know, but they previously did a game called Steep, which is all winter sports in one game, and now they've kind of mixed this with, I don't know, Codemasters Fuel.
That engine, at least, yeah.
Yeah. The problem that you have is you get all of these like different like sports, and you get a master of none. You get a jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing going on. I really hope I'm wrong about this, because this could be a lot of fun. The only thing is, right, stop forcing me to play with other people. I want to play something like this on my own. I like 1080 snowboarding.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm an SSX guy, and I think when certain games, like I always look at like Burnout. When other games try and do Burnout, they're good, but they're not quite Burnout. And with like snowboarding games, they're good, but they're not quite SSX. I know there's people out there, like you say, with 1080 that would argue between 1080 and SSX. I'm an SSX guy, but I think they're going to be using the Steep engine. I'd be so surprised if they're not using the Steep engine. I mean, that's their game as well, and I really didn't like the way the Steep controlled. There's a BMX game called Lonely Mountain, which this should be a lot more adrenaline based, and that's a lot more tactical. And again, I like my BMXing like that. So it's going to be really, really. I know what you mean. If I got into this game, I would be all about one or two styles of playing, and probably not want to touch the rest unless I had to.
Yeah, I think they're kind of banking on that at the same time as getting the people who just want to try a bit of everything. Mm-hmm. It's like Pilot Wings. You pick your favourite, don't you?
Yeah. Chevmatic, are we all in agreement that we will not make Slope lift or play marbles whilst he recording Slopescast? No, I have left them on for this Slopescast. Sorry, mate, but I'm not lifting weights during the podcast. Anyway, moving on. Now, I will very briefly talk about franchise. Every year releasing virtually the same game. In fact, I think it was a year or two ago, they said that this is just the same game as last year, and they sold it at a cheaper rate, and it's like, how the hell can you get away with this, you know? But hey, hopefully there's a bit more competition in that space for the people that follow those games.
To be honest, I'm really surprised that EA haven't done something similar. So this is free to play. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that seasons get here when the new seasons go across and get all your transfers in a microtransaction. It strikes me as like that seems like the winning strategy. And it looks to me like whoever these UFL guys have done, they've basically gone and said, right, if EA aren't going to do that and smell the roses, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And now they've done it, I reckon EA will do it.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
it'd be one of those things,
someone needs to come along and shake it up because
and it's a European show. This is what you get.
Yeah, and it's not free to play. Apparently, it's fair to play, which is the most marketing thing I've ever heard in my life. Fair to play. What is that? What is that?
Ah, God knows.
So following on, Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that like the Lego series.
This has been taking its sweet time. I seem to recall this being like almost a launch title for the next gen, but I don't know. Maybe that means that they're actually putting the effort in and getting it done right. I mean, this is EA essentially taking Traveller's Tales games and then remastering them. So maybe they were just thinking it through and getting it done in the way that it should. So fingers crossed.
My son's
it looks cool.
Obsessed with Mario. He is, but obsessed with Lego. So this is probably something we will get, and I'll probably play with him. So there we go. Maybe on stream. We'll see. Following on, Synced Off Planet. Not much known about this yet. It looks like it's trying to be a bit of a sci-fi futuristic kind of, Terminator storyline, machines coming to get you, but you are partly machine yourself.
Right.
But plays like an Uncharted type game. That's all I've really got to go on. And if this teaser trailer, which is sadly mostly cinematic, is anything to go by, it's something I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on because the Uncharted games are some of my favourite games ever made.
Yeah, to me, it looks a bit like Jedi Fallen Order without the license, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Jedi Fallen Order was quite a good game. I don't know. Looks cool. It could be a middle shelf title like Binary Domain, and that's not a bad thing.
There we go. So that's a thing. Next up, you got the Outlast Trials, which is another Outlast game. Hey, people like Outlast. I thought Outlast was pretty good. And this is a bit more of a co-op entry into the horror franchise. Play much Outlast?
Played the first one, scared the pants off me. Never got round to the second one because of the see above reason. It does feel like it's going a bit sore now. Yeah. Where there's the first one was the most intriguing. The second one was a bit of fun, a bit more action packed, and now it just looks to me like it's just going through the motions. Yeah. With some bigger mechanics, but I don't know. Could be wrong. Outlast is quite popular, I think. Yeah. And I think this could be of some use to some people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there you go. New Outlast. There's definitely a fan base for that. Doki V. It's essentially Pokemon.
This looks mad.
Insane graphics. Like, it looks beautiful. It's essentially an MMO Pokemon game type game. You collect little monsters. Is that what they are? I
believe so. Yeah.
Hey, if Nintendo aren't going to do it, these guys are going to do it. And these guys are doing it.
Yeah, and to be honest, Nintendo should have done this years ago. And I hope that Pokemon Legends Arceus or whatever they call it, I hope that this is that's the game we've been waiting for. But in the meantime, this is what we could have had. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, and it looks amazing and just absolutely insane. And it's by the guys who make that Black Desert Online, so it's going to be like a proper MMO.
Yeah, I think it's actually got a bit of a I know I said like Pokemon there, but I'd say a Pokemon mixed with Monster Hunter. Very cutie version. It looks insane, like absolutely stunning. I can't justify this stuff. It's not for me, but my God, does it look good. I will definitely be checking it out. Like, not to buy, but checking out what it's like when it comes out. But hey, very, very impressive. Like, it looks like a kid's game, but with 100% AAA backing behind it. Like,
100%. Yeah, it looks
impressive.
amazing.
Very impressive. It's good to see games for all ages. Call of Duty to this. Jurassic World Evolution 2. Want to make your own Jurassic World? Yes.
Yeah. What can possibly go wrong?
Absolutely. Hey, I don't think we need to see much more about that. You make a big Jurassic Park zoo, and if you do really well, they don't escape. But what's the fun in that? So then you, I don't know, leave the door open. I don't know, it's going to be great. It's going to be good fun. It's not
Good
really
for
much
all
else
of
to say.
the clever boys and the clever girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Far Cry 6. I'm going to buy this game.
Yeah, I am too. I love Giancarlo Esposito. What an actor. I hope he's every bit as good as Voss from Far Cry 3. And just Far Cry games are just generally fun. They're the one thing I break my Ubisoft like general malaise for, because they just are a whole ton of fun to play.
Yeah. They are so formulaic. Thankfully, they don't do a yearly release like they did with Assassin's Creed. There's enough of a gap for me to go, you know what, I need a new Far Cry fix. And then I'll play this game, and then I'll happily not play another one for 4 years. 3 or 4 years. And it's okay. I do like my villains to be a lot more in-your-face psycho. And don't get me wrong, but I am intrigued to see how this guy goes, because I think he could really get you on a psychological level. I think he can really like...
He strikes me as a bit more of a realistic villain as well.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff like this is going down all over the world. So I won't go into too much detail about that, but you get the idea that some people are just this insane, but cold and calculating at the same time, and it puts chills down my spine. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. I'm hoping it lives up to it.
And just following on from what we was talking about earlier, we got some people over on YouTube, primarily a guy called Birdman, who's not a fan of that MMO kiddie-looking game, Pokey V or whatever it was called. And that wasn't Pokey V, it was Doki V, I think. He doesn't like the look of it. And would take Fantasy Star Online 2 over it any day, over Black Desert.
So, who wouldn't? Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, Far Cry 6 was fun. I mean, who doesn't want that? The Clans of Blood Hunt. God, there are a lot of games. This is what
that sounds like a mobile game.
Potentially.
Either that or a song by the Clash.
Blood Hunt looks good. Third person Left 4 Dead. That's what I wrote in my notes. Yeah. A bit neon-esque. You got the kind of superpower-esque, like telepathic stuff. Probably not going to get it, if I'm honest. It's too many games like this. It looks fine.
Yeah, Love Hunt sounds like a Prince album, and to be fair, so does this game.
Park Beyond. So Bandai Namco are jumping on the bandwagon of making their own theme park sim type game. Now, I think graphically they're actually taking a few cues from the 2 Point Hospital franchise, which is fantastic. Sega's the 2 Point Hospital, and you got that new 2 Point Campus game coming out. It looks fantastic. And this just, it looks all right, but at the moment it's just a cinematic. I'm definitely interested to see what they do, because I really don't know how much better they can do than Roller Coaster. Roller Coaster Tycoon? Whatever that Coaster Tycoon game that... Is it called Coaster Tycoon?
Yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon. Yeah, or Planet Coaster.
Planet Coaster. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to beat that, if I'm honest. But hey, it's a new theme park sim. They don't really show you anything though, unfortunately. Woo! Jet. I'm still not interested in this in any way, shape, or form. I'm sure it's a great game. I don't know anything about this game, as in what you actually do on it. It looks really bizarre.
I'm curious about this one. I want to play it just to like get a feel for what they're actually going for, and I just get the impression it's going to be a lot like Flower, but with like ships. And I'm fine with that, you know, if they can pull it off, and as long as it's not got motion control. I don't know. It looks like it could be interesting.
Could be. We'll see. Then we've got Horizon Forbidden West, which does look stunning. But I think we've seen what there is to be seen of this, really. I really just want to play the game now.
Notably, the first game on PS5 has got the 60 frames per second update, which makes it so much more playable.
Ooh. now's my time to get on it, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
There we go. Definitely.
Great game, to be fair, and I'm looking forward to the sequel.
I am. I remember when it came out, a lot of people saying it was better than Uncharted 4. I'm like, are you serious? Are you sure? So this is interesting. New World, Chart Your Fate. Interesting. I will never play this, but interesting because there will be people out there that will play it. And this one is done by Amazon. This is Amazon's massive multiplayer online game. Pirates, demons, knights, the undead, insert here, all the others. It's just one mentally big MMO game, and it's done by Amazon, which I just thought was quite interesting, really. It looks very, very well done for an MMO.
Yeah, it looks a bit pre-rendered over the top, but I don't know. There's obviously some gameplay here. I just don't know, and I don't really trust Amazon with the games yet. You kind of want to see like how far it's coming, because everything they've done so far has pointed to bad news.
Yeah, definitely.
We haven't talked about Amazon and all that much, but there's been some news topics that's come up recently. How they're banning developers working on Amazon titles from working on their own projects and things like that. And that just, I don't know, is yikes territory. So I'm stepping back a little from this one up until I see something a bit more positive.
Yeah, I'm very interested from a news point of view to see what this is and how it turns out. But 1,000,000% not for me. I could not care less about the gameplay. I'm just interested on how it's being made, who's making it, all that sort of stuff. New World. Another Marvel game. This one is a mobile game. It looks very pretty for a mobile game, but I couldn't give less of a crap about it. Very, very pretty, actually, for a mobile game.
Yeah.
Marvel Future Revolution. I don't even really get how it plays, because it just looks like a normal game. When I say normal game, as in not a mobile game. Lots of fighting.
It's about what you come to expect from a Marvel mobile game. What we do know is that this footage that you're seeing on the screen for the trailer is probably in no way what it's going to look like on your mobile phone screen when it's in action. So
quite nice to look at, though, if you're a Marvel fan. Go check out the trailer. Might be better than the game. Probably will be better than the game. Here's a game I'm going to quickly skip past. Tales of Luminia. And there's another one to it as well. Tales of Luminia and another one called Arise. These are mobile games, and they're hardcore anime. They've got cutesy music over the top. Lots of flowers that fly all over the place when they land. Flashy lines when things go fast. And lots of stopping just before the action happens so they can have flashbacks about their past. It's a mobile game, though. And
do they yell about their vices and virtues? Like, I will defeat this person because it's my right. I am born to do this, and what have you.
They always start that, though, with a huh? Yeah. And they have to go into deep thought. Just as that sword is swinging down. God, I fucking hate that stuff. Go play it on mobile phones. Or don't.
Yeah.
Dead Mouse. This is so weird. Dead Mouse 5 is basically shouting out about some weird online service called Core, which is a service to make games, watch live concerts. I don't know what I'm looking at. And I don't think he really explains it. Real world events will happen whilst you play. I don't know what I'm looking at.
So where I think this stems from is that recently Fortnite, and I hate to bring this up on the podcast, and if you noticed that Fortnite news does not make it into the podcast for very good reason, because I don't believe the audience cares that much about Fortnite, but there's actually a relevant reason why. So quite possibly, it sounds to me like he's trying to do a bit of a Roblox thing with this whole create your own game hub type thing, because Roblox is massive on the streaming community, particularly amongst children, of course. But also, when Fortnite recently did a couple of in-game concerts, they were really successful and they were really cool. I mean, talk about marketing strategy. They had, I can't remember who it was, so it's obviously not that memorable, but they had a couple of really big artists. Ariana Grande was one of them.
Right.
And what they would do is essentially have like the character model of Ariana Grande as a massive character singing their song like during a Fortnite Battle Royale match. And I've got to say, it was so neat. And I reckon that's exactly what Dead Mel 5 is going for here.
I do like that name. Yeah, it's that and make games. He's heavily pushing onto this new service as such. It's bizarre. It's definitely worth keeping an eye on, but it's interesting. He does use hardcore marketing terms like metaverse. Like,
yeah,
my spine. But hey, it
either has the potential to bankrupt him or make him stupidly rich.
Yeah.
So I'm curious on that level.
I think if he gets the kids involved, they'll like it. It's really bizarre. Really bizarre. Age of Empires 4, that's coming. And my guess is going to be better than Age of Empires 3. So there's that. Anything else to add?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's empires and there's ages of them.
Yeah.
And this is the third.
Fourth. Yeah.
Wow. Times have changed. Times have gone with the ages.
Now they're actually showing real life knights running around in the trailer as well. Valheim, Hearth and Home is a trailer that is nothing but a cinematic trailer. Very nicely animated. It shows you absolutely nothing about the game. Let's move on.
That's because Valheim is one of those Minecraft type survival games on the PC. It's not the best looking game.
Right.
It's very popular though. I wouldn't mind trying it, but it's only come to PC so far, I believe.
Fair enough. Got much to say about Crossfire X, a new deathmatch-esque game?
Deathmatch-esque game. I mean, it just looks like a deathmatch game to me. I don't know what's esque about it. Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? It's
one of those.
It'll either be really tactical and super hardcore like Counter-Strike, or it'll be really untactical and a free-for-all, but people will still pretend to be hardcore like PUBG.
Yep. Sifu is next. You remember that game we talked about a while ago where it's sort of like... I keep saying things are Streets of Rage. It's not. It's third person. It plays like Batman Arkham Asylum, the fighting mechanics. But every time you die, you go back to do the level again, but you're older. And I don't understand how that makes the game better, that you are now an older fighter. But hey, that's what happens in this, and we get to see more of it, but it still doesn't explain what the older mechanic thing is. It looks very well done with its fighting mechanic though, so if it does play like a very good fighting game, it might actually be quite fun.
I think it looks cool. I'm a bit disappointed now that we've actually seen footage of it looking like the Batman Arkham series, because it almost feels like, I don't know, it should be a bit more involved if it's all about martial arts.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. It could be really, really good. And the aging mechanic, just it kind of baffles the mind. But I like this. I like the idea of it being like a roguelike type thing, where you gain extra moves with experience, whether you win or you lose. And then if you're really good at the game and you're able to get through as your youngest self, you have to work harder to get through to the latter stages. That sounds really cool to me.
It's interesting. I'm definitely interested in knowing more. And I think you'll find that was the last game to talk about at Gamescom. Although that's not the last game we're going to be talking about, because for the next topic, yes, we've moved on from topic number 2. My God, was that a long one?
Oh, yeah.
Let's chat about Valfaris.
Yes.
Ooh.
So this, I believe this was also announced at Gamescom.
Oh, okay.
So what we basically just looked at in the previous topic is the opening night, because if we talked about everything, it would have taken forever. I mean, it took us long enough to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Valfaris is one of those indie titles that just doesn't get the love, and we are baffled as to the reason why. Because it's one of the best looking modern retro indie platformers that's going.
Yeah.
And the sequel looks to be like one of the best looking and possibly really tightly playing 2D 2.5D shoot 'em ups going.
Yeah. So. Now, what I will say, I I loved Valfaris. I've completed it a few times. I bought it and then I went out again and bought the collector's set just because I wanted to get the really nice version. I adore that game. I think it's beautiful, great art style. And this doesn't look as good, I don't think. Now, I'm really happy that the developer... I'm going to buy it because I trust them. I trust them with their game majorly. I thought that first game was perfect. However, if you haven't seen the original Valfaris and even the game Slain, which came before it, what they do is they do this very clever mechanic where they sort of make a polygon heavy character, but then they add this weird filter over them so it looks like they're pixelated, and the way that makes them move, their fluid animation, is out of this world. You've not seen pixelation like it. It's obviously kind of fake the way they do it, but it's it looks incredible. It's got an amazing soundtrack. The gameplay is really good. It's like a big shooting, heavy platformer game, and yeah. So I want another platformer game, which this is not. This is like essentially R-Type. And they've actually taken away the polygon heavy look. The pixel heavy look, and gone for a game that looks like a very beefed up Sega Saturn game. And I think that's a shame. Although I'm more than happy to give them the time of day and definitely try it out. I would have much preferred another Valfaris, which, besides its style and the fact that it's called Valfaris 2, it's actually called Valfaris Mecha Therion. This is not, in my opinion. I don't think this is.
See, to me, I'm in a bit of a disagreement. I don't think it's like... I loved the original Valfaris. I liked it as a platformer. To me, this looks just fun in its own right.
It will be. It will be.
And the scale and scope of like the movement, the animation, it looks incredible. I mean, the way that the levels are scrolling around, you see like the mixture of the 3D assets mixed in with that stylized polygonal / pixelated look. Because there is a bit much of it.
There is definitely some of the pixels in the background and the scenery, from what I can see.
Yeah.
But for me, what made Valfaris so good, besides the fact that it just controls and plays like a really good platformer shooter, is the fact that it is one of those games, which I'm a big fan of, and it has that insanely good art style and music. And for this, they've taken away the platforming, which I adore, platforming shooting game, which I adore, and the art style. 70% of the art style, because they really have taken away the pixelation of the main characters. But at the end of the day, I like R-type games. These side-scrolling shmup type games. So I'm still going to definitely give it a go. It's just, oh man, they didn't make another Valfaris. That's it, really. So there we go. It's definitely worth talking about though, and at least everyone go out there and check out Valfaris. And I think, like me, even though they're not making another one of those type of games, that was so good that I'm definitely willing to give this one a shot. I'll be buying the collector's set of this before I even play the game. I'm that confident that it's going to be good. Faux show. It's nothing but a good thing. I haven't said that on this one yet.
I have.
Oh, okay, there we go. I have been talking a lot, so I'm going to pass it over to you as we move on to topic number 4, which is Google Maps on an NES cartridge.
Who'da thunk it? So, this is a bit of fun. So a YouTuber known as CC++ has taken the old 2012 April Fool's joke from Google of all people, where they made an 8-bit Google Map world thing, and he's actually gone and done it. Which is actually working in real time. We're using a Raspberry Pi, which is hooked up to the internet, feeding through a donor cartridge into the NES, and generating Google Maps with tiles, which are very reminiscent of Zelda 2, as you can see on the screen. It's so cool, and I love the fact that you actually control it using the NES controller, and you're able to scroll through each area, each country, and you see all of the little place names pop up in that classic NES font. It's just so clever.
It's cool.
I mean, what is the point? Nobody truly knows, but I love the idea of hacking is because you can, and
yeah, for sure.
This is truly like something unique, and I absolutely love it. It's just so technically stupid and
I
fun.
can see my house from here. There it is. It is so cool. It's really, really impressive that someone's gone out of the way and put an absurdly simple version of Google Maps onto the NES. It's so cool. It's so.
All I can hope is that for the Super Nintendo we get Street View.
Oh well, actually, old P. Ferreira actually says now think what they can do with 16 bits.
Yes, 64-bit, and you'll be talking Google Earth.
It is awesome. It's so cool. I imagine that's as far out as he can zoom, which isn't the whole world, but yeah.
It's clearly just like a very, very simplified version. I mean, I'm glad they got North Korea in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, representing.
Photo. But I like it.
I don't know. It's so weird. It's so like unnecessary, but really, really cool.
It's so cool. It's so cool. So there you go. There's that one. Over to topic number 5, which is Arcade 1-Up. We're chatting about Arcade 1-Up again. Given all their free publicity, even though they never talk to us UK people.
How dare they?
Arcade 1-Up. Sort us out. Sort us out. Sort us out one of your new Simpsons arcade units. Yes, the Simpsons are now coming to the Arcade 1-Up range. And who doesn't like the Simpsons? Original scrolling arcade game is freaking awesome.
So I've got to say, Arcade 1-Up are absolutely killing it these days. I remember when I first saw the Arcade 1-Up Street Fighter 2 cabinet, the very first one they did, and I was like feeling it, having a game, having a feel for it, and I was just thinking to myself, this ain't anything like I remember. The stick is wrong. The cabinet looks nice. It's small, and I just don't know if I like it enough to spend up to the £400 that they wanted for it.
Yeah, it's like a man cave thing, isn't it? It'd be cool to have.
Yeah, but now they've got a full on arcade. Like you could build an arcade out of these little things, and probably do well enough for the people who don't care about the specific details as much as I do. So I love the fact that we're finally seeing Simpsons back. I mean, we've seen the likes of the Outrun cabinets. I see a Def Jam cabinet in the background. They're re-releasing the Street Fighter 2 cabinet in the big blue variant with online play.
Yeah,
they've really thought this through, and I absolutely love what they're doing. It's just a shame that in the case in particular of The Simpsons, we're not getting it in the UK. We
are not. Which not only does it mean we're missing out on that classic Simpsons arcade game, which everyone does love, but it also means we're not getting this, which is also bundled with that. And it's only these 2 games, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yeah. But what people may have realised is that there's actually a trackball in the middle of that cabinet, and that is for a little-known arcade game from 2000 called Simpsons Bowling, which was also made by Konami, and sees you playing as various Simpsons characters in a very rudimentary 3D fashion. I'm really surprised this didn't come to PlayStation, actually. It's the kind of thing that would have done.
Yeah, I thought it was a PlayStation game before I looked it up and realised it never was.
By the way, if anybody really wants like the most destroyed version of the Simpsons theme song, look this game up. It's the most awful thing. But it's also kind of endearing at the same time because it's like a proper bowling game with the Simpsons. Actually looks like it could be somewhat fun to play. It's like the kind of thing you would see in a pub arcade machine, like Golden Tee or something. Which and Arcade 1-Up also do.
Golden Tee is a great game. I like that. But Simpsons Arcade and Simpsons Bowling is coming to Arcade 1-Up. Hey, that's a thing. That's a thing.
Can I just... There's another thing from Arcade 1-Up which I really do appreciate, but at the same time I'm just thinking, well, just make your standard product a bit cheaper and then we wouldn't have the problem in the first place. But Arcade 1UP are actually making child-size arcade cabinets for the first time, starting with two particular types. A Pac-Man cabinet, which is about, I don't know, quarter of the size, maybe half the size of an arcade cabinet.
Right.
And it's designed with much larger buttons, much larger stick for young children to play on. And also, everyone's favourite game from the 90s. I don't know if you heard of a title called Paw Patrol.
No
That
way.
is being made into an arcade cabinet available to purchase from Arcade
You know
1UP.
what? I reckon they're going to make a killing out of that.
I think they might too.
I think they're going to make a lot of money from that. There is a time I would have bought that for my kids. Like, yeah, it's nuts. I always thought they were kid size anyway, because you have to get the booster for it to be any kind of decent size. You know what I mean? They're already quite short. These machines.
Yeah. Well, these are three quarter size, aren't they?
I don't know.
I think they are. But yeah, they are a bit squat, and then unless you get the riser and makes it a bit bigger. I just think that they sometimes don't get the little details right. There's like the spacing on the buttons in Street Fighter and the type of buttons, the type of stick, although they seem to be getting a lot better at it. What I do love is that they're actually emulating the shape of the cabinets. So if we look at the Dragon's Lair cabinet just to the right of the person in this video, you can see that it's actually got that angled fronting. Then there's going to be an original Pong machine, like a Pong pub table that they're bringing out, which looks amazing. They got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time, the best arcade Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I dare say.
It's beautiful. I've got such vivid memories of going to the fun fair and seeing it.
Yeah, there's so much to love in this selection. They seem to be getting a lot of the licenses as well, which can be a good or a bad thing depending on who you ask. I would much prefer it if they came out with like an all-in-one deluxe system for, say, if they came out with one for $1,000 and it's got all of these games on with all of the control methods. I would probably go for that. Apparently, yeah. Sometimes when I was speaking, I was matching up to the woman's face. That was not intended. Maybe I'm reading her script. I don't know.
maybe you're synced. And guys, let's end the show going down memory lane. Let's end the show chatting about the Super Nintendo. Now, you may have seen, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, there's my Super NT there. I didn't actually grow up with the Super Nintendo.
Yes, neither did I.
No, and the reason we're bringing it up is because it's 30 years old. Oh, yes. Now, it doesn't make me feel old because I don't remember when it was released. I went to a school with like 70-odd kids, roughly. The year above me only had 2 children in it. So we had to share the classroom with like a couple of years. So the years above would be being taught what we got taught, and we would be, learning with them and whatever else. But there was 11 kids in my year. And no one had a Super Nintendo. Everyone had a PC or a Mega Drive or Master System. So I'm not even sure I knew it existed. Because I was so brainwashed by Sega and the Amstrad before that, I would just always zone towards that when I went to a shop. So it's really a system that I got into retrospectively by the time the PlayStation had come out. So I'm very interested in hearing what you guys suggest as the games that I need to be playing. They're a little bit more hidden, a little bit more unknown, because I've got a top 5 type games, but they're all a little bit too obvious, I will say. What about you? What are your 5 best Super Nintendo games?
Yeah, so I'm in a very similar position to you. I didn't grow up with the Super Nintendo. The very few people I knew actually had one. Everyone was Sega and then later PlayStation here in the UK, or at least on the playground when I was a kid. And it's a real shame, to be honest, because I feel like I did genuinely miss out. Even if I do still prefer Sega to this day, I do appreciate that there is a lot to offer on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, my top 5 picks will be very conventional, because I generally, when you go back and you play you play the games, you learn, you start off with what you know is good, right? What's been reviewed well, what people seem to talk about all the time. You start there, and then you start going into the obscure stuff. So I think out of my 5 would be Super Metroid, of course.
Yeah, that was on my choice, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really say no to a soundtrack like that. The action's just brilliant, sublime. One of the best games Nintendo has ever put out, I believe, and super playable to this day. It'll never get old, I think.
For me, I tell you what, because you put yourself into two mindsets when you review games or you play old games, even ones that you've not played. You put yourself in the mindset of what it was like when it came out, like, wow, this is groundbreaking. But you also got to look at it from nowadays as well, like, is it still good? And people just kept banging on about Super Metroid, and I almost went in there thinking, come on, is it really going to be that good? And when I finally played it, I'm like, my God, this game is good. Like, It was such a good game. I was blown away by, like, the atmosphere, everything about that game. I was like, yeah, this is such an incredible game. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I mean, that's a really powerful thing to note, because it's not like you're dealing with a hype cycle. It's not like the game's just coming out and you're about to play it with everyone else. Mm-hmm. You're talking about games that have decades worth of nostalgic and loving memories.
Yeah.
When you talk about games like Super Metroid, it's impossible not to get hyped up about it, and then you are in a real impossible situation as to whether you're going to really like it or really not like it, because it just can't live up to that hype. Exactly. So it's one of those things. You've got to be really careful when you recommend games from your childhood, because chances are the games just aren't as good as you remember. And thankfully, Super Metroid is one of those games that transcends any of that feeling. It's genuinely good, and it lives up to the mountainous expectation that's been heaped upon it over the years. And
we just saw Turtles on there. That's definitely going to be one of my choices. The classic Turtles in Time, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
great game. Great port on Super Nintendo as well. Surprisingly good, because that was around the time where arcade games for Super Nintendo, that's one thing Sega had over Nintendo, is that they were able to make more arcade friendly ports. Mm-hmm. Apart from maybe the likes of Street Fighter 2 and what have you. But, things like Final Fight, we got the proper Final Fight on Mega CD. Super Nintendo had a stripped-down version with only 2 characters. It's well known. So seeing, like, the full Super Nintendo version of Teenage Mutant TMNT Turtles in Time and playing it so beautifully on the Super Nintendo is quite something.
Yeah, it really is. Really, really good game. The most obvious one, Super Mario World, is probably the best 2D Mario possibly ever made. It's brilliant. Very good game.
Yeah, it's the one I've enjoyed the most. I didn't even touch Super Mario 3 until I played Super Mario World. So you can imagine, like, people are going, no, Super Mario 3 is the best one. But to me, no, it didn't have Yoshi. It didn't have any of this. It didn't even look anywhere near as good, or it didn't play as well as, Super Mario World did. So to me, Super Mario World is the Mario game.
It is, and it's interesting, because when I look back at what Sega were doing with pushing Sonic the Hedgehog, they actually imported a Super Famicom, got a copy of that particular game, and put it right next to Sonic the Hedgehog, and let kids choose what they want to play. And people wanted to play Sonic the Hedgehog. Now that just proves how fucking good Sonic the Hedgehog is. That original Sonic the Hedgehog is, because obviously this was in America. Like 90% of the audience, I believe it was, or maybe even more, were all for Nintendo. It was definitely the Mario state, Mario country. But
can I just cut through this? Apologies.
Yeah,
but someone's just committed a sin in the Twitch chat.
Is it Michael Towns?
And it is Michael Towns. Have you seen what he's written?
I did. I was going to get to that. I'm not happy with
How dare you, Michael? Earthworm Jim is not better on the Super Nintendo. It is. Put yourself in timeout, young man.
It isn't.
I'm just going to put that out there. Sorry, apologies. I didn't mean to interrupt, but it had to be known.
What I will say about Earthworm Jim, Earthworm Jim was created for the Mega Drive and then moved over to the Super Nintendo. The sound is better on the Mega Drive, or Genesis if you prefer. Everything is better about Earthworm Jim on the Mega Drive compared to the Super Nintendo. So
it even has that intestinal distress level. How dare you forget about that? I have flying fish.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that said, regarding Sonic versus Mario, that particular Mario game is still the very best of that particular style. It was so incredible. It wasn't groundbreaking in the graphical jump too much compared to like what it was able to do compared to Sonic, but it's proof that Nintendo know how to completely dominate the mechanics of a very simple game. Like, it's unbelievably good. Good. Fantastic game. Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Turtles in Time. I'm going to chuck a bit of Demon's Crest on there as well. I was blown away by how much fun that was to play. Really enjoyed playing that game. I'm not sure if I've ever completed it actually, but I really, really enjoyed that game.
It's one of those games that I didn't put that on my list simply because I could never own a physical copy. I think my top 5 is made up of the ones that I actually own. Right. And I've played at length. Demon's Crest is something I discovered on Wii U and using the Virtual Console, and I deeply love that game. It's brilliant. One of Capcom's finest from the 16-bit era, and that's no small feat. It's just really obscure. Nobody's really had the chance to play it, I guess.
Demon's Blazon, I think it is in Japan, so I want to see how much that goes for, because I would like to own a copy for that. I know the Demon's Crest is very expensive, but
yeah.
I've got a bit of Contra 3 on there.
Yeah, I can't say I can't say I'm the biggest fan of Contra. I never really got it, but then again, we didn't really get Contra as it's known as Contra in the UK, did we? We got Probotector, which is robotic versions, which features less Rambo and more, virtual on, I guess.
Retrospectively, I'm really happy they did that, because it's quite cool to go back and see two different looking versions of a good game. Super Probotector, I think it was, for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
The SNES.
Yeah, something a bit different. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're my 5, but Super Castlevania 4 very almost made the list. It's just a bloody hard game.
So I've got a few still.
Yeah, I'll go for it.
We got Kirby's Superstar, or Super Fun Pack as it was known in the UK. So that was the game that made me fall in love with the concept of Kirby, like a super easy platformer that you can just whiz through and enjoy. I think it was the first one that had co-op gameplay, so that was always a good laugh. And co-op games weren't easy to come by back in the 16-bit era, at least good ones.
Yeah.
Like, I can only think of a few, really, and mostly on Mega Drive, like World of Illusion. So that was a good one. Then you had, of course, Castlevania 4, my favourite Castlevania.
Yeah.
And that is controversial, considering I'm a Sega fanboy. So, yeah, you win this round, Nintendo. Then, of course, you can't talk about Super Nintendo without the Super Star Wars franchise, because while the games were crushingly difficult, and I find them really hard to go back to.
Yeah, I do.
That was one of the games that really sold me on the idea of a Super Nintendo back in the day. It was super influential, and when you hear those sounds coming out of a cartridge-based console, the really authentic like sound effects, the music, and everything else, the speed of the gameplay, the craziness of the gameplay, it had an effect. And I thought Super Star Wars, particularly The Empire Strikes Back, was absolutely brilliant for that. Just wish it was slightly easier so I can just play through it and enjoy these days. It's very hardcore. And lastly, a really weird choice, but when I had a TurboGrafx, I really grew to love this game in particular, and that was Super Bonk.
Oh, yes.
Really fun little platformer, and nobody really talks about it these days. But it's one of those just really, I don't know, there's a unique feel. You don't really die in the game if you get hit. You kind of like take on a different form, and some of it was just absolutely insane in terms of graphics. The the general themes, like there was one level where you were going through the gut of a dinosaur that just eaten you, and then you turn into fish, then you go into a city which is still inside the dinosaur, and it's just really, really weird. And I loved every second of it because I didn't need it explained to me. It was just fun. So definitely one I would recommend to anyone who hasn't tried it before. And yes, of course, the US or the UK version was called BC Kid, whereas in Japan it was known as Bonk.
Of course. And there we go, guys. I think we've reached the end of the podcast, and I've just looked up Demon's Blazon, which is
Blazon Squad.
Don't do that to me. I hate that. The Japanese version of Demon's Crest. You're looking at about £150 probably, and higher for a boxed copy. Not too good for me.
Just want to say happy birthday, Super Nintendo. Even if I wasn't a fan of you, maybe necessarily when I should have been, I was on the other side of that fence. You are very much an important console in many people's lives, particularly for the 16-bit era. Where would we be without you? So,
absolutely,
happy birthday!
And I absolutely would love a Japanese copy of Wild Guns as well. That would be on my top 5, but the updated rebooty one is so much better, like unbelievably better. If you haven't played that game on like Switch or PS4 or whatever, go and get it. It's such a good game. Reloaded,
super cheap these days. Cheap these days on modern consoles. Is worth every penny. Go and get it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bury me with my money.
Absolutely, because if you got the original version, which isn't quite as good, still a very good game, but not quite as good. You're looking at, just looking up the price. Oh no, sold items. There we go. Unbox is 30 quid, but you're looking around 300 plus for a box copy, from what I remember. Yeah, this is the problem with Super Nintendo games. Even back in the day, they were very expensive, and you didn't get as many released over here of like the more obscure releases. It's always the big names, but stuff like Wild Guns was hard to find back in the 90s, and it's even worse to find it now. Absolutely.
There's a game in particular that I've always wanted to play, and I wanted to do it on original hardware, but I might have to resort to the emulation at some point, and that is a game called Firemen, which only released in the UK and Japan, and it's a bit Burning Rangers like. You play as firemen trying to put out fires, and it looks like a lot of fun.
This game. Yeah, I remember seeing people play this game.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. But if you look for a fully boxed copy, it's going to cost you an absolute fortune. So. Yeah, it's a shame.
Interesting. But yeah, I want to know more about the Super Nintendo. I really do, because I do love it. It's my favorite generation. It comes from my favorite generation. So Fireman looks beautiful. But there we go, guys. We have reached the end of the podcast. Thank you all so much for hanging out tonight.